Blessings and peace to you. Today is June 20th, and we're concluding our week of Theodicy today. So we've covered a lot, and both Pastor Scott and I have said that there's just really no way that we're going to cover all of it, obviously, in a week. But we've touched on this topic, and that's been great. We've talked about human and spiritual aspects. We've connected it to science and the movies, and there's just only so much you can do in a week when we're talking about the whole aspect of good and evil. Pastor Scott told you that he was a fan of Westerns. That's really not my thing, but I love mysteries. Clearly, I love dogs. And I love crime investigative procedurals. So I have really, ever since I was a child, I was allowed to watch the comedy Spy Investigation Get Smart, and that end line every time in the show when if only he had used his powers for good instead of evil, I was totally hooked. So I'm here now, and I'm discussing with you good and evil, and today I'm going to connect it to the book of Ruth. A while ago, I commented that this book was one of my favorites. And we all have what we call our canon. Well, I would call it a canon inside a canon, or we may just simply say that we have those scripture quotes that we always use, that small Bible that's inside us, those phrases that we come back to time and again. And I think this is really why we need to study scripture in larger community. Otherwise, we really just end up quoting those same scriptures over and over, and our God just gets smaller and smaller, and I think we diminish ourselves and God that way. So, having said that, of course, I'm turning back to the book of Ruth, so I get the irony. Ruth works really well for me when I am discussing good and evil, because it's such a perfectly balanced literary work of art. In just 4 chapters, you have this scene that is set in a world where, so Judges ends, and it says there's no king in Israel, and everyone did as they saw fit, which is this great way of saying it was a totally, totally lawless place. So maybe I like Westerns after all. So there's a famine, and Naomi and Ruth and Orpah enter in. Ruth and Naomi stay. Orpah, of course, goes back to her own people. And Naomi says you should call her now Mara, because her life has just been that bitter. All the evil and the hunger and the harshness, the pain of the world, it's all just been happening to her. And clearly, oh, God has done this to her. Okay, so, but amid all of this, she comes home. And in this evil, harsh world that just surrounds these people, God doesn't make any direct contact. God doesn't say anything, doesn't intervene in any special way. It's just a harsh, harsh world. But these people who are in this story, they choose to do the right things. They do. Every character chooses to do the right things. Boaz does the right thing, and Ruth does the right thing. Naomi does the right thing. And each character, each action, everything that they do is the next right or faithful thing. So you don't have to have these divine interactions. You have faithful people living out their life. And yeah, evil is going to be happening, and chaos and harshness and horrible stuff. But people with free will are trying to do what is right. And because of that, good triumphs over evil. It doesn't happen immediately. It takes time. And what you see in this story is that eventually, in a long period of time, because the son, right, Ruth's son, Obed was going to be the ancestor of King David, the ancestor of Jesus of Nazareth. It takes a long time for these things to unfold. It always takes a long time for things to unfold. But evil exists. Free will exists. Our choices. Thank you from the beginning of the story. If only they had chosen to use their powers for good instead of evil. And as we wrap up our week, that really is our choice. What are we going to do? How are we going to use the power God has given us to choose for good or choose for evil? So, Marcus Aurelius, if you're into studying Roman emperors, life is neither good nor evil, but only a place for good and evil. So God has empowered us to choose. And we who are choosing a life of faith, we who are choosing and understanding Emmanuel, God with us, are trying and striving and working for good, for righteousness, for faithfulness. And as we do that, we are choosing to understand that how God is with us informs our choices and that journey that we are on. And ideally, that light, that Christ that shines within us, those choices that we are making, allows others to see the God that we know and reveals that God. And if they ask questions, we too can then share that God that we know with them, sharing the good in a place that sometimes feels a little chaotic, a little heartbreaking, or a lot heartbreaking. But we have that choice, good and evil, and God walks with us as we make those choices. So may you understand the God who walks with you today, and may you be in prayer and know that you are loved by that God with every choice you make, no matter which choice you make. Amen.